Hello everyone and welcome to lesson 7 of our GCSE Design and Technology non-examined assessment work. Today we are going to be looking at our initial concepts, so our sort of design ideas. It's really important to do this reasonably early on, and we'll explain why in a moment. So first and foremost, a bit of a recap. These are all the things we have done so far in our earlier lessons. Really important that we've all given this a very good go before we return back in September, so we can move on to developing our ideas and then ultimately making our product. It saves us an awful lot of time that we're not having to try and catch up too much. So please do attempt all of the work above. So because we're moving into a new section, really important that we have a quick look at the mark scheme. The bits in the pink boxes are what we're focusing on today. So just going to read through. Students should explore a range of possible ideas. Look for a range of ideas there. Linked to the challenges. These designs should demonstrate flair and originality. So we're not just copying something that already exists. And we want you to encourage you taking a few risks with your ideas. Okay, and you might want to use a variety of techniques there. So those are a couple of key bits there. In the mark scheme, one of the things that we really want to try and avoid is design fixation. So design fixation is where you have one idea in your head, and I'm sure some of you already have this one great idea you want to make. We want to, yes, good to have that one idea, but we want to also focus on being able to come up with other ideas as well. This will allow us to get a good range of ideas and get into those top mark bands. Okay, and we'll talk through how we come up with new ideas in a moment. So that's what we're looking for there, a range of ideas today. So as one of the bits in the mark scheme there explained, we want to show a range of techniques. So I just want to remind us of some of the techniques we've looked at in DT so far. So I suppose primary school, you probably learn how to draw some 2D shapes. As we get into year 7, we look at oblique sketching, where you have a 2D shape at the front, and then you, in essence, stretch it to make it 3D. Okay, so all those angles are going up at 45 degrees there on oblique. So you have one good side and then two sort of half scale sides. Isometric sketching is the one we've probably spent most time in Key Stage 4 looking at. That's where the angle from the horizontal is 30 degrees and there's no horizontal lines per se. And at the end of the day, what you end up with there is three sides that are of equal importance and equal style. Okay, and that's one that I'd say that's for the best 3D method for what we're going to be doing today. And then 2-point perspective is a little bit more detailed, more realistic, but it takes a lot more time, and therefore more suitable for your final designs and designs later on in the project. So today, I wouldn't be surprised if we're probably looking at a bit of a mix between some 2D work and some 3D in either oblique or isometric. Might be worth just revisiting that and practicing some isometric sketching before starting your design work if you wish. So moving on. As you can see here, I've got a number of different sketching techniques shown for you, and I just want you to very quickly spend a moment or two trying to identify which type of technique each one is from the previous slide. So is it 2D, oblique, isometric, or 2-point perspective? You might want to pause if you want to take a moment to write them down, or then move on to the next slide. So there we are, top one there, 2-point perspective on the left hand side. It's a classic cityscape. It gets smaller and smaller the further away it gets. Then the one below, isometric. So many computer games, SimCity, Sims, Minecraft even, are all drawn in isometric. 2D design there, the football pitch. Plan views, really useful to be able to draw plan views. Then the top right, 2D side view. Then top middle, oblique, you can see those rectangular steps facing towards you. The one directly below it, once again, lots of detail on the front, but not as much detail on those sides. So that was the one in the middle, and isometric at the bottom. That's quite a complex little shape there, but you can see that all sides there have equal importance. And then once again, 2-point perspective in that bottom right hand one, designing a house. Okay, that's somebody's final design. You wouldn't do a 2-point as a design idea. So moving into task 1, we're looking for some concepts here. So you need to sketch at least 5 different ideas to solve your problem. So if you're making a lamp, it'll be 5 different lamp ideas. If you're making a hedgehog home, there'd be 5 different hedgehog home ideas. And we're looking for really different ideas, not just the same idea, just drawn slightly differently. We want a real range here. Okay. Normally, if we were in school, we'd be using A3 paper in landscape. Because we're not in school, there is a decent chance that you might not have any A3 paper. If that's the case, if you can use A4 paper, but use it portrait, we can put them together afterwards and turn that into an A3 page, and we'll photograph it or scan it in when we're back in school. That's how I'd like you to do it. Otherwise, we'd sort of run out of space. There's a couple of different ways in which we can look at coming up with ideas. I like to often say we're looking for some weird, wacky and wonderful ideas. That sort of sums it up very well. Or if you're into your Western movies, the good, the bad and the ugly ideas, you'll have some ideas that are really great, that you really like. You'll have some that you don't really like. They're the bad ones. And you'll have some that you've just drawn badly. Because we're all human, we all make mistakes. And that's okay. That's the sort of page I'm looking for here. I'm looking for something that's probably maybe a little bit rough around the edges, but it's about getting your ideas down on paper quickly. As I said earlier, we're looking for a bit of a mix between 2D and 3D designs, and they probably are going to be a bit rough. And key thing here is just sketch lightly in pencil. I'm going to talk you through some different methods in a moment. So these are some techniques I've used in the past to come up with some ideas. I'm going to demo this on the next page. So you can just draw some shapes and then add some more shapes, and you probably find you'll end up with a product of some sort. Another one I've done, really good when everyone's using the same project, but a bit harder for us right now, is in a lesson I would shout out a technique, a theme. So sport, and give everyone 2 minutes to come up with an idea that's linked to sport. 2 minutes to come up with one linked with nature. And just by using a theme to come up with an idea allows you to come up with creative, really different ideas using shapes and whatnot from those themes. So that's something that you could do. You can really think about the function and just draw the function first and then try and make it look attractive afterwards. One of my favourite ones, and it only really works for really aesthetic type designs, and you'll see one of these on the next page, is taking a pen for a walk. You just draw a doodle and then turn it into a design. And then you can use your mood boards that you did on the earlier page and take some of the shapes and ideas from them and turn them into a product. So a little video for you now showing you how you could come up with some different ideas. Here we go.
Okay, here goes. I'm going to attempt to do a very quick design ideas page. Rule 1, use sharp pencil. I'm going to try and use all the different techniques to come up with ideas that I mentioned a minute ago. So I'm just going to start off with drawing some shapes. That's a pretty good place to start. So I don't know, up here I'm going to draw a triangle. And general rule here, sketch light. So I've got one triangle. You know what? I've got some space over here. I'll just draw a second triangle. But I'm not going to get them to touch. There's a design. Okay. We'll come back to that in a moment. So just playing with shapes, join them together, see what you come up with. That's one. Similarly, one of the ones I do tend to do with shapes again is I'll often draw a very light cuboid. So you can do any sort of cuboid here, and then from here I will change its shape. Okay, so I'm using this as a crate, so I'm going to give it a big diagonal across the front. Okay, kind of hollow out the back of it a little bit here. Okay, that'll do for now. That's another idea. Now, what else did I say? We could look at themes. So think of theme space. I'm just going to try and think of a design that's sort of spacey. So I don't know, spaceship of some sort. Maybe looks like that at the front. There we are. Hopefully have some sort of booster pack around the sides. I'm making up a spaceship here. It's just, in essence, a collection of shapes that look like a spaceship. It's not actually a spaceship because it's meant to be a speaker. There we are. Vaguely spaceshipy. I remember a set of shapes I had from my mood board really early on, which was some shells. So I'm just going to use a product that I've seen before, a shell. I'm going to turn it into another design, but this time we'll see if it's actually a design or just a set of shapes. So, as I say, I'm using shells as an inspiration here, but it's actually obviously not going to be a shell. I suppose it might work a little bit like a shell, but it's using existing things on the planet and turning them into another design. So the idea here, all these bits would be able to go in on themselves. And then one of the other ideas I mentioned was taking a pencil for a walk. So down this bottom corner, I'm going to take just drawn a scribble. Now, let's see, I really like this shape here. I like this curve. I'm going to keep that curve there. Okay, actually I think I might just loop it back around there. Quite like that bit of shape, darkening that. And then I want to build some sort of stand for it, something that is going to and going to be a break in there for a couple of points. And I've created a interesting curve design there, just using the scribble that was on the page. Okay, so there we are. 5 very different design ideas using a variety of different techniques, and at this stage they are just some shapes. The key thing here is they're all very different. They're not the same design, they don't look very similar, and the next video will explain the next step to designing our ideas.
So that was the range of ideas there, just reasonably quickly drawn. First of all, I should apologise for the quality of the video itself. I had all sorts of problems getting that video off my phone and onto the PowerPoint, so it's a lower quality than I'd like. The next few videos are a bit better. Next task, which is a bit of a quicker task, is adding thick and thin lines to a design, and I've seen on the example on the left there are some thick and thin lines drawn. This will enhance the 3D effects of your design, as well as just enhancing even the 2D effects of your design to make them look a little bit more realistic and pop off the paper a little bit. And then we're going to add colour to our designs. We're not going to colour them in. We're not going to render them to make them look realistic. For this, we'll just go through a sort of a quick approach of adding some colour, just to make them pop off the page. And I'll go through this in there's 2 little videos to come here, a bit quicker than the last one.
Hello again. So video 1 was very focused on just sketching these light ideas. Here what we're going to do now is we're going to use our thick and thin lines. I'm just going to use my cuboid down the bottom here to remind ourselves of thick and thin lines. So we've got our cube, okay, and we always talk about Boris the spider. Boris. And the idea here is that any line that Boris walks over, or in terms of his 3D shape, any line he goes around and you can't see Boris anymore. So, for instance, if you went over here, you wouldn't see him anymore. That becomes a thick line. If, however, Boris walks over to this side, you'd still be able to see him because he'd be there. That's a thin line. So all the outside ones always become a thick line. And we can use this to neaten up where we've sketched and maybe gone a little bit wrong. But it means we can actually leave some of our sort of construction lines. It's just a way of neatening up our work. So that's what we're going to do to all of our designs. The 3D one here is going to be really important to do that too. So it's our thick lines around the outside. So any line you can't see round. You can see I'm also fixing some of the lines there that weren't quite meeting up, and I'll just thicken those lines just there slightly, but not anywhere near as much. Okay, so we should have a much thicker dark outline, and I'm going to add the detail in now as well. So this is going to be the speaker front. One of the things, if I'm doing something like speaker, I don't want all the speakers to look like circles because that's just a bit boring. So there is one design. Similarly, go around the outside of here. Hopefully you can start seeing that these designs are starting to pop off the page a little bit. Okay, so I'll finish this in a moment. I'll show you where we're at, and then we'll come back to it shortly.
So here we have the finished article there, going around the other 2D designs with the darker pencil. As you can see, the one on the bottom left, I've still left the initial pen for walk bit, because at the end of the day, you can hardly see it now. Same with the one top right. There's some of the initial construction lines are still there. You can hardly notice them. But hopefully now all those now pop off the page a little bit more. They look a little bit more 3D. And now we'll have a look at adding colour.
Now I'm going to try and add a little bit of colour to our designs, just to try and make them pop off the page. I'm not colouring in because that takes a real amount of time and effort to get the quality there. As you can see, I've finished off doing my thick and thin lines, so I've now got a set of designs. They vary drastically, and we're going to throw some colour at them. So to get us started, there's some really quick ways to add colour. I'll start off with a really basic one over here, the cube. Quick way, I'm just going to use the same colour all the way through. I'd say maximum of 2 colours on a page. I wouldn't go more than that. And some of you will have seen this before from me. Splash of colour there. And there we are, we've just added a splash of colour around the bottom of it there. It just draws the eye. We're not trying to colour in, like I say, we're just trying to draw the eye. Now, I really like hollow shapes. There's a couple of techniques we can use. One of them is this one. I'll just roughly mark out here and say that that's going to go all the way through. Just imagine that line following through, follow through, follow through, and it comes out there. And then we're just going to colour that section there. By doing this method, what we can do is we're trying to show that it's hollow. That's the key sort of thing we're trying to do here, and it highlights the bits that are quite tricky. So that middle section that's a little bit compact with lots of different things going on, adding that splash of colour actually helps to define which bits are part of the product and which bits are just empty space. So always try and make all your colours go the same direction. Just use it really light. If you go a different direction, just go really light just to use it to fill in. And you can see here, just do to darken that colour up a little bit. I've added that splash of colour, try and get it all the lines to finish at the same point. Okay, there we are, splash of colour. So that's a couple of methods. Some of the ones I see people do, just going round. A dark bit on certain sections, just to try and draw the eye. A bit more than there, I suppose. I've seen people do that on just the corners. I might just go a little bit more in there. Okay, it draws the eye, makes you look at those 2 points in the design. That bit's not as important as maybe these 2 edges. This one here, I love these sweeping shapes, but once again it's got that hollow effect. So what I thought I'd do here is try and show that these holes here are hollow, so I can see through, but this one being the speaker, as it were, isn't. So same again, just going to do that really quickly. I'll come back and need that in a moment. For 3D shapes, useful one you can do here is make it look like it's on a table, stood on something. It really emphasises the 3D effect. Okay, and these are just some of the little methods. You don't have to go all out. You don't have to do absolute tons and tons of colour. That's not what this is about. It's about a little bit of colour. Around design. You probably make some mistakes here. You probably won't get it quite how you want it to be, but don't go overboard. Whatever you do, don't go tons of colour. And there we are. I've added a bit of colour. I'll finish it now. I'll take another photo, and then we'll look at notes.
So here's the finished one after I spent a little bit more time just neatening up some of the bits of colour there. As you see, hopefully all those designs now, to your mind, will sort of pop off the page a little bit more. You can see I've tried to highlight the key parts of the design rather than adding colour to all of the design. It's just getting your eye to go to the one or part, the one design you like, or the parts of designs you like. Now, this is the bit that if you've enjoyed designing, you probably find adding the notes the least favourite bit. Now, notes are really important because it helps somebody else that isn't you understand what you're trying to design. So, as you guys will remember, and you're going to roll your eyes at me in a moment, we spend an awful lot of time talking in design technology about DAFAM, because I'm still trying to be down with the kids in it. So for notes, function, aesthetics, manufacture, that's our FAM. We're going to turn it to FAME, however, with some evaluation notes. So what does your client think about it? What do you think about that design? And as you can see, there's a little example there with some lots and lots of notes, two different sets of colours there, the pink and the yellow. If I remember rightly, the yellow are that student's own notes and the evaluation notes, sorry, and the pink is what the client thought of that design. Okay, so I'm going to go through another quick video showing you adding notes onto a design.
Okay, so we're working with notes now. I'm going to start off by discussing FAME, so function, aesthetics, manufacture, and evaluation. I'm going to start with this one here. So I'm only going to look at this one design. So arrow. Each part folds / rotates into itself. Cool. I'm just going to put a little speaker behind mesh. I think I'm going to say, so that's sort of some of the functions. I'm going to say aluminium panels. Okay, it's meant to look like a shell. So I'm just sort of I'm making the notes as I go along. But how will it work? Each part folds up. I'm going to say the phone can go in here. Speaker for phone. Phone hides inside. So there we are. I've got a few notes, and I'm trying to do this reasonably quickly. Now, the last thing I want to do is the evaluation, and this is always really important to me. It's one of the areas where you get specific marks for in the mark scheme. So I want to come up with methods where we can evaluate in a bit more detail and make it really clear to whoever's marking this what the evaluation notes are. So I'm going to write my evaluation. I really like this concept because something to do with the shape, because of the shape and the moving parts. So I've written a sentence there to say why I like it. Now I want this to be an important part. Okay, my evaluations are going to be important. So this is just my technique. I just draw a sort of a part box there, so I know when I glance at that work that those little boxes, which will be on all the designs, are important, and they're going to draw the eye to it slightly. And it means that if somebody's looking at this, it's not you, they'll get used to these boxes. It might be that you use a different colour, it might be that you put shading behind it, underline it, whatever you do, a way of identifying where the evaluation comments are. Equally, you might have a comment, this one here, my client doesn't like this product, and then you can go into ... and once again you've got a little box type thing going on to identify a client evaluation, and that is there are notes added to the page. Okay, I'm going to stop there.
Okay, and that is the finished example with as many notes as I could put on in a reasonably short space of time there. Couple of things I want to just recap there. Make sure you can sort of identify where the evaluation notes are. Don't draw boxes before you've done the writing. Do the writing, then put a box in there. Also, I've seen in the past students draw big lines all around things to sort of put each design into like a circle or a bubble, and identifying which bit of writing goes with which design. You don't need to do that. Little arrows here and there, and only little arrows will do the job for us. So that's my finished example. I've got a few waggles to go through here that are really interesting, and there's some pros and cons for each one. So here we've got Miss Anderson. She's produced a waggle for us here using a variety of colours, and she used pro markers, which are a special designing set of pens. I've got a set here. If you've got some proper pens, okay, then you could try using pro markers. Don't use normal felt tips though; they don't work anywhere near as well. And so those are her ideas for a multifunctional lamp. And here we've got a waggle, and I just wanted to spend a moment just talking about this one. This is from last year. So a student was making a bookend, so something to hold books on a shelf. I want to talk about it because I had a bit of an argument with the student. Turned to me and said, "Sir, what do you think of these ideas?" Oh, really good. Great. I'm going to go, and when I take it home, I'm going to neaten it up. I'm going to start the page again and draw these up properly. It's like, no, this is perfect. This is a concept page. It should be sketchy. It should be quick. It should be a load of ideas thrown onto a page. It shouldn't be perfectly neat. If it's perfectly neat, you've probably spent too long on it. Okay, it should be all about getting your first set of ideas onto a page, and you'll have time to make nice, neat pages in the future of designs. This one's all about what ideas do you have, and they should be weird, wacky, wonderful, good, bad, and ugly. And whatever you do, you don't need to redraw it. There's some designs on here that you didn't really like, particularly if you look in the middle, there's a couple of circles there that weren't great ideas. You sort of wrote over them. I think this is a beautiful page. I love this page, in fact. And it is pretty sketchy. Okay, so don't be afraid to try things. Don't be afraid for it to go wrong. And here's the one you saw earlier. Very different sort of page. Lots of writing on it. Lots of colouring in. So you can see a very, very neat page. It doesn't need to be this neat. Okay, it really doesn't. Future pages maybe, but not this one. Okay, so those are our waggles. Hope they've been useful for you. And now just a quick thank you. Okay, thank you for everyone that's been submitting work all the way through. Really pleased in seeing what we've got. Do try and complete all that work by the start of term in September, and do also submit all of your work next Friday, or Friday the 17th of July, just because I can use it as a backup, and it means I've got a copy of all the work handed in to date in case anything goes missing over the summer holidays, and it does do, so it's there to help. So I hope you've enjoyed these videos, and I think hopefully that should be the last one of these before I see you in person in September. I hope you've enjoyed today's video with me and my cat. Take care, and I look forward to seeing you all soon. Goodbye.